Sad people in the friend zone. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. What would you do if a person you only want to be friends with is in love with you? Probably what 95% of girls do in that situation. Not notice that he's in love with me. Seriously, guys, unless you speak up, most girls just think you want to be friends. We can't read minds any more than you can. If you complain about girls saying things like, if you don't know why I'm mad, then I'm not going to tell you, which is hella dumb, then you can't get upset when things you say like, hey, I can give you a ride home, actually mean I'm deeply in love with you, want to make sweet love to you, and we should be together forever. But anyway, if the guy has stones and is brave and comes right out with it, I don't know, I'd try to let him down gently, I guess. Tell him in no uncertain terms that while I'm very fond of him, I have no intention of ever dating him. He's a great friend, like a brother to me, but that's as far as the relationship is ever going to go. And, if he kind of stopped hanging around after that, I'd be sad. But I'd understand and try to respect his decision or boundaries. If he's as great as all that, I'd probably try to introduce him to my lady friends and see if he clicks with any of them. I'd still invite him out to group things, and hopefully the friendship could survive it. If not, then he's doing the right thing for both of us. It's a bummer, but it's the only outcome if platonic friendship is too hard for him. Introducing him to your lady friends after a confession? That's like handing over a consolation prize. Sorry you didn't win my heart, but here's a voucher for a friend's affection. Story 2. I am so tired of hearing people complain about being friend-zoned. If you have made your intentions clear and she refused, then make the decision to either remain friends or cut off contact with her. If you do decide to remain friends, this does not mean I'll remain friends with her until she sees the error of her ways, and in the meantime she better not expect any effort on my part to maintain this friendship we have, because she doesn't deserve it unless she goes out with me. That's not how friendship works. Also, girls are not mind readers any more than you are. If you haven't said anything about your feelings, then it is not reasonable to expect her to just know. Being friendly to someone she considers a friend and expecting you to be friendly in return is not leading you on. What are girls supposed to do? Preface all possible opposite gender friendships with, just for the record, I have no interest in dating you? That's a good way to ruin a friendship before it even starts. Yes, some people get off on mistreating people who pine for them, but sometimes your situation is due to your own cowardice and selfishness. Story 3. No one is going to see this comment, but here it goes. For me, the friend zone isn't about obliviousness or about a guy not having the courage to tell a girl how he feels. Friend zoning is a verb, albeit a non-existent one, and someone can't be accused of performing a verb if they aren't actually doing something. Simply not falling in love with you isn't friend zoning you. That's like saying that not playing baseball is a sport called not-ball or something incredibly stupid. To me, friend zoning is something that comes about in younger couples when they are unable to articulate what it is they want. There's nothing wrong with not being physically attracted to someone or finding their personality too abrasive, or any valid excuse you can think of to not date someone. The problem arises when person A expresses interest in person B, and person B turns them down, citing no valid reason. Oh, you're great, and cute, and you'll find someone awesome someday, but I'm not that person. Isn't a reason. All it's going to do is cause psychological damage in the recipient as they struggle to find what it is that's wrong with themselves and work furiously to reverse it for your approval. You're not doing anyone any favors or sparing their feelings by telling them, you're wonderful, but you're not the one. Be honest. Story 4. I'm really glad this is a question today because it's been on my mind as of late. So basically, this is a slight on-topic rant. You've been warned. I know you all seem to hate this, but it is relevant in this case. I'm a lady here, 20 years old. I'm not attractive by any means, but I wouldn't say I'm ugly either. I've never much tried to impress guys. Through school, I wore what was comfy because why sit in these awkward clothes all day to try and score some schmuck that I'd break up with in a few years and never see again? But now that I've moved away, I can dress nicer without the entire town lining up to see what I look like in a dress or with makeup on. For a while, I complained. Blah blah, guys don't like me, it's not fair. Eventually, I got over it. Later in life, I find out most people just assume I'm not straight because I like guy stuff. But whatever, I've been friend-zoned by every guy I've ever had a thing for. It's okay though, because why mess up an awesome friendship for some awkward intimacy? And then I found Reddit, the magical land of men who think all women are arrogant schmucks. All you people ever talk about is how you can hit on girls anywhere, just don't be ugly. Like you are any better. You're so clueless. I'm sure you actually have girls lined up behind you. I'm sure everyone does. But we're too busy focusing on that one person that just doesn't feel it. And don't go saying that girls never try and that girls should make a move if they feel something. I'm pretty sure that I can't be the only lady in the world who tries. It's impossible, though. At least for me, and it's too bad, but hey, it's their loss in the end. I smile and say hello or good morning if I see people in my walks because I know that when someone just says good morning to me, I'm happy for the rest of the day. Treat others as you wish to be treated, right? I'd say I get 2 or 3 acknowledgements back every month. And even then, 2/3 are put off by the fact that I've inconvenienced them so much as to say hello. But to address the question, yes, I get it. It can be hard as hell knowing a friend is in love with you. I suspect that a kid I went to high school with had a bit of a thing for me, but he never said anything. Thank God. We were friends and hung out quite a lot, but he was 2 years younger than I was and was also quite the late bloomer. He looked like a 12-year-old, and it felt awkward being around him. After I graduated and moved away, he confirmed that he did, in fact, have a thing for me. I still feel bad for not sharing those feelings. Story 5. I've been there. Disclaimer, I've never and would never go out with a girl unless she was a friend first. I don't see what's so bad with the friend zone thing. I've been asked out by 6 girls, unless I'm forgetting any, in my sweet short life, 23, and turned down all but one of them. I only ever asked out one girl, my current girlfriend, but I was held at a metaphorical threat and I knew the answer before I asked, so I don't know if it counts. The first one I gave one of those I see you more like a sister lines. What a messed up thing to say. I wish I could have been more honest back then. 8th grade around and just said that I didn't want a girlfriend. I was extremely shy. The other ones were just, no thanks, don't want to date you, deal with it, sort of responses. I don't see the issue, really. If you like me, that's neat. I'm flattered. But I'm not going to ever feel anything necessarily reciprocal, and that should be fine, too. It's simple. You can admire poetry, architecture, and flowers without doing them. You don't suddenly get to go to the moon just because you like the moon. You can express your feelings for me. That's fine. But you certainly better not feel entitled to having me as your boyfriend just because you like me. If you can accept that, what's the problem? Your love for me is the same as my love for the moon. Story 6. When I was in high school or college, I'm married now, I was pursued quite a lot and put about 95% of people in the friend zone. And the number one reason for that was being awkward. Seriously, nothing's more of a turnoff than a guy who you can tell wants your thing, but he's too much of a wuss to be like, I want to be inside you. I only ever gave guys a chance who had the confidence to tell me like it is. I had tons of guys who would randomly bring me flowers and gifts, but never say, I like you. Or if they did, it was way, way too late in the game, and they had already been permanently friend-zoned. Seriously, awkward. If you make me feel weird about being around you, I'm not going to date you. My first boyfriend was ugly, but he was a class clown type and very good with words. He was up in my face about what he wanted. Meanwhile, nice guys came to me all the time, but the only time they ever admitted their interest in me was over online chat. Gross. I married a guy who asked me out as soon as he knew I was available. Nice guys finish last when they only confess their feelings through a screen. Real life is where the magic happens, folks. Story 7. I'm a guy who spent large amounts of time in the friend zone with various ladies. It was really awful at the time, but now that I'm older and wiser, yeah, right. I see that it was pretty much my own fault the entire time. Growing up a fat guy, I didn't always have confidence. I felt that if I didn't have a girl really get to know me first, I'd be dismissed immediately. Thus began the vicious cycle. The thing about being friend-zoned is it doesn't just happen overnight. In my experience, it happens mostly when the person being friend-zoned knew from the beginning they had feelings for the person and was too scared to act on it, most likely fearing rejection. Even though they're too shy or scared to make a move, they still want to be around that person and get through their guard in hopes that they get that one moment when everything feels right and they go for it. The problem then becomes, they've spent all that time and effort showing they could be this great and awesome person, and now it could have been either a swift rejection or acceptance, depending on the situation. Now it just turns into an awkward situation for all involved. In my honest opinion, most people that are doing the friend zoning feel terrible about it, but what choice do they have? You put all of your effort into getting him or her to see you as a friend and not another schmuck. Then when he or she actually warms up to you, your true feelings come out and you find out you're stuck in the friend zone. While this may not be the case for every friend zone situation, I think this is the case in most. If you want to avoid it, make your feelings known up front. If it works out, awesome. If not, you decide if you want to be friends or walk away. Saves you both heartache in the long run. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 8. I've had a few friends develop crushes on me. It's awful, especially when that person already is a good friend. It's different than some random person who likes you where it's not a big deal to say, sorry, I'm just not interested in you the same way. When it's a friend who you genuinely want to keep around, what can you do? It just feels best to say, sorry, insert girl's name here, but I only care about you as a friend and hope things don't change between us. Not because it's a nice thing to say, but because that's what I genuinely want. But things are usually too awkward to continue on being friends anyway, which is really terrible. This is why people who are in love with their best friends and others urge them to speak their minds and tell them how they feel. I always say, whoa, pump the brakes. If you really want to get it off your chest that badly, be prepared to possibly lose them as a friend for good. Because even if you think you can remain friends with them if you get rejected, every single time they go on a date with someone else or spend time with other people, you're going to feel mistreated and jealous. Being just friends with someone you'd like to be something more with is a bad spot to be in. And even worse if they know your intentions. Story 9. Personal experience, been on both sides. What I notice is that it's never black and white. There's no absolutes. There are girls and guys out there who do like the attention and are straight up manipulative by nature. There are also people who, for whatever reason, aren't attracted to the person. I've dated guys who are perfect on paper, so to speak. Funny, attractive, sweet. But for some reason, the spark just wasn't there. I can't help who we're attracted to, even if it doesn't make any sense. There are a couple guys in my life who I think I can safely say I would never, ever date. And they have told me they feel the same way about me. There was one person who I was just friends with for years before falling in love with him. I've just experienced or witnessed too many different situations to say that there are set rules for letting people down. Generally, as a girl, I know that guys say they prefer to be let down quickly with no nonsense. But I've tried that before and it blew up in my face. And then there are times when I was scared of hurting him by rejecting him flat out, and that felt awful too. It depends on the people, the situation, etc. Too many variables to consider. Story 10. I find it a bit appalling how many people here have a one-sided view of these types of relationships. From highly rated comments in this thread, I can determine that people think that someone friend-zones another person if they're disinterested, or if the person doesn't show interest. That's it? That's all the possibilities you guys could think up? What about the guy who is friend-zoned because they used to date and stopped, but he still likes her, but she's with someone else, and still expresses how much less emotionally fulfilled she is with a new guy than the friend? How about a girl who gets friend-zoned by a guy after making her intentions clear, then sleeping with him under the illusion that the interest was mutual, only to find out that the guy just wanted a friend with benefits? And let's not forget the guy who, after making his intentions known, gets turned down with a "I'm not looking for a relationship right now," leading him to believe that if he waits, that situation may change. And then there's the girl who gets friend-zoned by every guy she meets for years, until finally, she just gets tired of giving up and starts trying to push through that. All of this is human interaction, people. And as usual, Reddit has a habit of oversimplifying human behavior and trying to make easily followable protocols for such interactions. But it doesn't work. The truth is, some people get friend-zoned, and it's because they're deficient in some part of themselves, be it willingness to communicate or lack of attractiveness. And some people get friend-zoned because they're dealing with mean people, or people who don't understand the ways others react to their words, or because they happen to fall for someone who's willing to use their friends to relieve romantic stress. It's all a lot more complicated than anyone who claims to be friend-zoned is immature. Story 11. Before I start, I'm female, and I've been friend-zoned before myself, and I have friend-zoned other guys, intentionally or unintentionally. Consider this, though. I've known about guys who liked me and did nothing because I didn't find out through hints from them or what they did. Instead, I found out through a friend who accidentally blurted it out. I didn't want to walk up to them and be like, "Hey, so I heard you want to ask me out. How's that going for you?" A, that would be ridiculously awkward for me and the guy. B, he's sure to be mad at the person who told me. So instead, I let them do it in their own time. And sometimes they never had the courage to tell me. That's no fault of mine. I don't want to bring it up later because what if it's a silly crush and they're over it now? This question is extremely relevant to the situation I'm in right now. A person I consider my closest friend revealed that he may very well be in love with me, but I have a boyfriend who I'm happy with. In my case, I'm one of those people who would say no if you ask me out of the blue, and reconsider or give you a chance later. He never asked, so I never said anything for his sake. The friend zone isn't just a one-way street. It's a roundabout where everyone gets lost eventually. Communication is key, but sometimes it's just not there. Story 12. Hey, also bear in mind here, a significant amount of this website, if I'm gathering this correctly from a lot of the Rage comics, are like 13 to 17-year-olds. When I was that age, I was very inexperienced too. So I think a lot of the forever loners don't realize that they're still just kids. They'll get their shot one day. Or they're 20-somethings that never grew out of that mentality. Also, from experience, I can say that being a girl's friend before you date them never, ever works out. If you see a girl that you think is cute, just be straightforward about it. Don't wuss around that thing. Because by the time you get the courage to say anything, she's going to already have you established in her mind as a friend, and not as dating material. People tend to decide what they think of you within the first time being around you. So if you don't decide you like a girl and really put on the charm, you've missed that window of opportunity. There are exceptions to that, but don't think that every girl that's put you in the friend zone is going to be that exception. It's just a big waste of everyone's time. Story 13. Let me tell you about my friend zone story. There was this girl at my work. She was really cute, awesome to be around. After a while, I started to realize I kind of had a thing for her, and she started to flirt with me. I've been stung a few times before, so I didn't think much of it since this girl was out of my league. Then one day, while intoxicated, she told me she really likes me. I was taken aback, but ecstatic. We talked about it. I was thrilled, happy, and she seemed to be too. My best friend, who I will call M, and I had a fight. We weren't talking at the time. It was a stupid fight, something that could have easily been fixed. After all, he was my first real best friend. This girl and I, let's call her T, ended up talking a lot. I had planned on making a move one weekend when we had the free time to meet up. She would leave me notes and flirt. I felt great. This was a girl who was out of my league but showed an interest in me. One night we were talking on the phone. This was after midnight. I was going to ask her out for the weekend. But all of a sudden she starts telling me about how I'm just another guy and that I'm nothing special to her. I was shocked. I asked her why she didn't tell me this earlier instead of putting me through all this. She couldn't give me a reason. T told me she had no intention of going out with me. Her friends told me that's how she is. She does that to guys who feign an interest in her. I was pretty angry at the time. I remember saying, "Whatever," and then hanging up the phone. I must have gone to bed after 2 a.m. The next day I got a call from a friend of mine, telling me my best friend ended himself. M sent a text to all our close friends except for me, saying goodbye and thank you for being a great friend. I was the only one who missed out. I got no letter, no goodbye. I was devastated. About a month later, I was talking to M's sister and she told me there was an attempt to call me that night. He ended himself on his phone. I checked back over my logs and found out I was on the phone to T at the time getting rejected. Her mind games cost me the last conversation with my best friend. What did he call me for? Who knows? I like to think it was to make amends before he did it, but I'll never know because I was too busy getting rejected by T. It took me a good year to get over the fact he didn't message me. T still flirted with me for a while afterwards, until I cut her out of my life. That was met with, "Why are you so mean to me?" Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.